Hello and welcome to the Friday. Oh, wait, no, I'm over here. Hello and welcome to the Friday. Come on. Hello and welcome to the Friday. You like my new couch? Sofa? Whatever it is? It's totally new. It's brand new. And I trimmed my beard, and that's new. And look at you, you're on a desk. That's new. Got all sorts of new stuff in my life. Look at that. There's something I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting something new. There's a new desk, a new beard, a new sofa. Oh, a new story. I forgot. Oh. Cue the music. Hello. Today's top stories on a news story: Davis, Doma, and Snowden. Yeah, I just really like the alliteration for the title. So, there's that. The first story I have for you tonight is about Wendy Davis, a senator from Texas, who on June 25th became an internet celebrity of sorts for her determined filibuster of SB 5, a bill before the Texas Senate regarding women's rights and abortions. Controversial though those topics both may be, the real controversy was actually in what happened near the end of the session. After the filibuster had lasted nearly 13 hours, after Twitter had exploded in hashtags surrounding the event, hashtag stand with Wendy, hashtag I stand with Wendy, hashtag SB5, hashtag let her speak, after over 130,000 people, including myself, were watching the live stream on YouTube on their official channel, and after the gallery in the chamber was filled with people, citizens, average Joes, watching this session quietly and orderly for most, if not all, of the day. After all of that, another senator, Letitia Van de Putte, stood up, and she had either been ignored or she hadn't been heard. Either way, she said, quote, "At what point must a female senator raise her hand or her voice in order to be recognized over the male colleagues in the room?" End quote. The response was never heard over the eruption of the crowd's applause and cheers that lasted 10 solid minutes, drowning out the entire remainder of the session and of the day. In the midst of all that, the Senate tried to vote on the bill. As a result, the timestamp on the bill said that it passed on the next day, which that can't happen because the session was supposed to be over at midnight, so they had to go back into the website and change it so that the timestamp now says that it passed on the 25th. Confusion reigned supreme across the interwebs for a few hours. Different media sources saying different things. Some said that it had passed, some said that it didn't. Nobody really knew the answer for sure, so what happened? Well, the secretary took the votes by a roll call after checking with the clock and double-checking with the official timekeeper that it was indeed before midnight. She took the votes, but because it was so loud, by the time they got all the votes put into the computer system, it was 12:02 the next morning. Unfortunately, the computer made an automatic entry of the time that it was entered into the computer. So they had to go back in and change it to the time that the vote was called, not the time that the vote got put into the computer. This is apparently normal practice and happens regularly. Not all the time, but it does happen. And this is the way that they handle that on those occasions. Regardless of the fact that this was not the first time that this happened, it was the first time that it happened with over 175,000 people watching live as it happened. And they were all wondering if the people in the Texas Senate knew that they were being watched by people all around the world. Sometimes I get that feeling. It turns out that they did know that they were being watched, and they released a statement saying that the bill was officially dead at about 2:30 in the morning. Senator Davis finally sat down. But that's not the end of the story. No, the story goes on, because that's timestamp issue was not what killed the bill. What killed the bill was the people crowding in and around the building so loudly, in fact, that Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst, the man in charge of proceedings, he, along with the senators, left the chamber. However, the special session ended at midnight, so having left the building after midnight, they officially ended the session without officially ending the session. Normally there's a vote to adjourn. There's a vote to adjourn and set a time for the next session, or they adjourn sine die, which means let's not worry about when we're going to meet again next. I'm tired, I want to go home. So they couldn't even do that. I mean, it was essentially like watching a TV show that you really like, and they bring it back for a season after having canceled it, and there was all this garbage, and they bring it back, and then instead of ending it in a way that makes sense, they just randomly, just as soon as it's starting to get good, they're just like, but the special session ended at midnight, and the Constitution requires that the bill be signed by the Lieutenant Governor in the presence of the rest of the Senate in order for the bill to officially pass. Because they left the session, it officially ended the session, and they couldn't resume action just for him to, just John Hancock it. David Dewhurst it. That's all they had to do to pass it, and they couldn't do that. They couldn't even vote to adjourn. They couldn't even vote to go home and end it officially. Which I may be wrong, but I believe that that is the only time in legislative history that a Senate has been ended without having any kind of vote to adjourn, even sine die. Speaking of legislative history, Domo was struck down. That's right. The popular strange brown creature with his saw-toothed mouth and his constant expression of cheery wonderment was ruled unconstitutional. This just in. Apparently that is entirely wrong. It was actually Doma that was ruled unconstitutional, not Domo. Doma. Oh, the Defense of Marriage Act, not the lovable Japanese creature. Oh, well. From these hastily scrawled notes, I can deduce that I can report with great accuracy that I don't really know what that actually means for same-sex marriages, other than that it will reduce federal restrictions against rights and benefits while state-level regulations and guidelines remain unchanged. So, overall, same-sex couples may or may not be able to now possibly be eligible for filing taxes jointly, or to receive Social Security benefits if they're widowed, among other benefits and rights. So, the Supreme Court is essentially taking a stand and ruling that whether you are straight or gay or anything else in between, really, we're certain that you will have to face death and taxes. So maybe, possibly, everybody should have the same rights when it comes to that. Maybe. According to the Supreme Court. Well, good job, federal government. I mean, it may not be an actual step forward, but it's an unstep back. So, I guess turning point, maybe? Only time will tell. Speaking of time, in other news, 16 hours is a long time to spend on a plane. And a week is a long time to spend in an airport. But Edward Snowden has done just that. This is the man, though, who trolled the US government by saying that he needed an extended leave of absence from his position at the NSA. So he went to Hawaii to be treated for his epilepsy. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. He just hopped on a plane and went to Hong Kong. Then he decided to start releasing super secret, top secret, majorly classified information stuff that created massive amounts of controversy and lots of diplomatic fallout. Then he trolled Hong Kong by saying that he had no intention of leaving, that he was going to stay there. Then he left. Then he spent over a week in the Moscow International Airport because the US government had revoked his passport. Russia said that since he would not agree to the terms, they would not grant him asylum, but neither would they prevent him from leaving and becoming somebody else's problem. So, Edward Snowden decided to troll Russia and some odd 30 journalists who had been tailing him by buying a plane ticket to Cuba and then not getting on the plane. So the journalists didn't find out that he wasn't leaving until it was too late, and so they got to spend the next 16 hours wondering, is he ever going to come out of that plane bathroom? The answer was no, by the way. As of this filming, he is still in Moscow International Airport. And he will presumably be there until next year when he announces to the world that, yes, he trolled the entire world, and the entire thing was just him filming the sequel to The Terminal. Because that was Russian in the American airport, and now he's an American in a Russian airport. It's a sequel. That was a good movie. But that's something he would probably do because his troll level is reportedly over 9,000. This just in, I apparently forgot to mention that yesterday was the 4th of July. So, in lieu of my wishing you all a happy Independence Day, I now have to, in order to prove my patriotism and stay out of trouble, I have to either stuff my face full of food in true American fashion, or I have to blow something up. We've got some fireworks laying around here somewhere. Here we go. Just laying around because I'm an American. So, happy Independence Day, everybody. Ow.